From Zero to Passive, the education of Glenn. In this case study, I'm going to share the story of one of my favorite students named Glenn, and how he went from having zero security and zero stability in his retirement accounts to being able to utilize private lending and what he's learned to create passive income and, more importantly, security and peace of mind for him and his family. Albert Einstein once said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created them." The stock market is the problem. The stock market is supposed to go up and down. What we need, though, is we need to make sure we're moving one direction, and that's forward. Forward towards our goals, forward to where we want to be financially. So I'm going to outline the steps that it takes to go from having zero understanding about what's going on with your retirement accounts to having the financial security and stability that everyone wants. So I'm going to walk you through those steps, and you're going to be able to plug in what you've been able to learn thus far with private lending and how it will affect you in your real life situation. So let me tell you the story about Glenn, one of my favorite students of mine from my hometown of Dallas, Texas. Glenn is a 50-year-old single father of two young boys that he's raising. And he's really a testament to hard work and manning up to his responsibilities. One of his two young boys is autistic, so he has an extreme burden of taking care of both these young boys by himself and making sure that they're not only taken care of today, but one day when he's gone, will both of his boys be taken care of and get everything that they need to be successful and live a healthy, secure life. Now, Glenn works really hard. And he's worked very hard for the $350,000 that he's saved up so far in his retirement accounts. He's 50 years old and he's expecting to be able to retire hopefully in the next 15 years. But what that requires for him to be able to retire is having a certain amount of money, enough to actually retire on, be able to replace his income from having to work, so he needs monthly income coming in to support himself, but also have extra money that he's going to be able to pass on to his two boys to make sure that they're okay as well. Glenn has never spent any time managing his own investments. He's had a financial advisor who picked multiple mutual funds for him that he's only seen go up and down, which all that did is make him more nervous that the older he's getting, he's not quite getting closer to retirement, especially the retirement that he wants to have. He's not very big on taking an active role with his investments because he devotes so much time to being a full-time father. So he needed additional options to what he was going to be able to do. So I'm going to start you through the process that anyone's going to be able to go through. And when you fill out that mentor contact form, you're going to be connected to a broker who's going to be able to walk you through these exact same steps and make sure that you're successful as well. So let me show you where we begin. We begin with step number 1, which is to personalize what's going on here. Every single person has their own unique situation and a specific solution that private lending brings to the table for them. In Glenn's case, he had a couple very specific issues that he had. One is that his retirement accounts were way too volatile. They were going up and down and up and down, and as he got closer and closer to retirement, he couldn't handle those downs anymore. He had reached a point where all he wanted was more security for himself and his boys, and he does not have the time to go out there and take an active approach like flipping homes or actively trading stocks. So he had these personal goals that he needed to achieve and overcome. So that starts with getting the proper education. Step 2 is to educate. You need to learn what's going on with what you're currently doing. You need to learn what else is out there. So that at that point you can then compare them side to side and make the best decision for yourself rather than having anyone else tell you what's the best decision for you. So I took him through his current portfolio. We showed him what his current investments are doing as far as returns and made sure that he also understood the risk that he was taking to earn those measly amounts of returns. We then sent him through our Teach Me Banking Private Lending 101 course that all of you should have just completed. This allowed him to have a complete understanding of what else he could be doing with his money in his retirement accounts. Now he was able to compare them side by side, apples to apples, and make a very clear determination of what was best for him and which route he wanted to go. So what we did next in step 3 is we applied the knowledge they learned about private lending to his own specific retirement account. So if we started with $350,000 in those retirement accounts, and of course, we want Glenn to keep maximizing his contributions to his IRA. So he's putting in there $6,500 a year moving forward. And he has 15 years until he actually retires. He's going to take his portfolio and invest it into some conservative loans that should bring him about 9% annually into his retirement account. So what does that do for him? Well, starting with the $350,000 that he had when he got started, plus the $6,500 a year in his annual contributions, and if he was just able to make 9% on that money each year, at the end of 15 years, he will have almost $1.5 million for retirement. Much closer to where he wants to be. This isn't a guess. This is exactly where he's going to be at. So what does that mean at the end of the day? Well, he has 1.5 almost for when he retires. That means now if he keeps doing what he's doing with private lending at just 9%, that's kicking him off over $133,000 every single year, which we all know that private lending pays monthly. So Glenn is going to bring home at retirement over $11,000 a month. Many of us would love to make $11,000 a month into retirement. And it's not just a dream for Glenn, it's the reality of what he's going to be able to do. That $11,000 a month is not only going to support himself, but he also will have the nut itself of the $1.4 million that he has to divvy up and spread out to his boys when he so chooses to. So now that he loves that number, he loves the $11,000 a month he can be at when it's time for retirement, he now needs to start putting this plan into motion. So the next stage is our execution phase. We start putting this plan into works. So we need to start transferring these funds to get them self-directed, which is vital to us being able to invest as the bank within our retirement account. So we filled out the self-directed IRA application. He filled out all the different disclosures that were required for him to fill out through his broker. And his personal help at that broker made a 3-way call over to where his current IRA is to make sure that they could ask all the questions that he doesn't know to ask to make sure that his transfer of his funds goes completely seamless. So they hold your hand and help you transfer your funds and get them self-directed. Next, we're going to have to start forecasting what we're going to do with our money, because that transfer process is going to take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for your money to leave where it's at now to get the freedom of a self-directed account. So he's not just sitting around doing nothing. He's busy preparing himself to make some money right away when his money shows up. So him and his personal relationship at his broker start going through potential lending opportunities. So his personal relationship is going to send him several loan summary fact sheets. So they're going to start sifting through them. So potentially find 1 or 2 that are great investments for him to get started on right away. So the minute his money shows up, he can get invested and start turning his IRA into a monthly cash flow machine. So his money arrives. Now it's time to make that investment. So one thing I want to make sure that everyone understands: investing into trust deeds is just like investing into anything else. It's very important that you diversify. We're going to have more than one trust deed in our portfolio. And of course, even if you want, it doesn't have to be your whole portfolio. Diversify it alongside what you're already doing with stocks and mutual funds. Diversification is key. Because remember, if there ever is just one of these trust deeds that go into default, yes, we know we're going to be able to get our money back because we're going to be able to sell that collateral backing up that loan. But during that time, we're not making any interest. The rest of our portfolio diversified is going to keep monthly cash flow going right back into IRA, making sure that it's all still growing. So we want to make sure we diversify. That way we can always have that portfolio turning over and turning over. Eventually, one of those loans are going to pay off, which is exactly what it's planned to do, and it's exactly what we want. So the next thing we need to do is we need to reinvest some of that money. So if you were to take that first trust deed, if it paid off, and then you're going to have all the cash that you brought in from all 3 trust deeds going in there, that money is sitting in cash inside of your IRA. You're going to take that lump sum from your first trust deed and all the interest from all 3 and reinvest that into a new loan. That is called compounding interest. We want to take the money we make and put it back to work so our money grows exponentially faster and faster and faster. Because in year 1, he's going to be making less interest monthly than he is in year 2. And it's going to progressively get more and more and more until finally, at the year 15, he's going to be bringing in $11,000 a month of income. Albert Einstein, another great quote: "Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." And for you, you're going to harness this amazing wonder, which is compounding interest. It's going to take your portfolio from $350,000 to almost $1.5 million in just 15 years, doing conservatively at 9%. This is just a graph of what Glenn's doing right now with his portfolio. Yours can be faster and faster, but notice one thing. That line is constantly moving up. It's not like what we're used to in our current portfolio that's up and down, looks like a heartbeat monitor machine. We don't want that. We want that nice steady vertical slope when it comes to our investments. So Glenn was able to achieve everything he wanted and then some, all by going through TeachMeBanking.com's Broker Connect, finding a broker that's going to walk him through the steps he needed to get on the path to financial stability and success. All he wanted to do was get a little bit more stability and take the headache out of his retirement account, and hopefully have more money for retirement. But private lending and being the bank taught him and allowed him to take control. He's going to get the lifestyle he's always wanted. He has better diversification. He doesn't have to stress anymore. He has that peace of mind we all want. His kids are going to be taken care of one day. He's growing his money tax-free, and he's making more of it. What more could you ask for? And the best part of it all is that you could do all of this as well. All of you should be private lending and diversifying that portfolio into trust deed investments. Take control and become a private lender. Last quote I'm going to leave you with. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Mortgages, trust deeds, and being the bank are all proven strategies. We're not asking you to reinvent the wheel. We're just telling you to be on a different side of the equation for a change. Become the bank. Stop gambling your money in that volatile stock market. Put it to work safely and consistently with private lending.